It was worth the long wait. But that song has been running on a loop in my head. Okay, before I get into the review for Stranger Things Season 4, and I'm actually doing this review a little bit sooner than I thought I would be. I only finished the show last night, and Simon and Colin and I were talking on my Discord server, and we decided that what we want to do is have a live stream, spoiler-filled discussion about Season 4 of Stranger Things. We have differences of opinion, the three of us. Two of us are more in agreement than the other, so we'll just see what we can hash out as we're talking about this. There will be tons of spoilers, so if you have not seen it, then stay away, or if you just want to let the live stream play in the background, put it on mute and don't listen. Anyway, so there's that. Now, on to my review for Stranger Things Season 4. Okay, I got a lot of things to say about this. I wrote notes as I watched it. I watched an episode like every other night or every other 2 or 3 nights or whatever. It all depended on my schedule. And right off the bat, I want to say I got some serious Season 1 vibes from this season of Stranger Things. And my enjoyment of this series is as follows as far as favorites. Season 1 for me will probably always be the best. Having said that, there is a scene that happens in Season 4 that is my favorite of the entire show. Nothing has beaten it so far. Not even the stuff that came after. I was just so blown away by that scene. And maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know what her picture was. I don't know why they made a picture of her, of that character, the mother of Mike and Nancy, because she didn't really play a huge part. But anyway, whatever. Season 1 is probably my favorite. Season 2 was a disappointment. I felt like it went a little bit too superhero-y, and it just felt like it was getting a little bit off track. Elle was starting to get annoying, really annoying. And she remained annoying into Season 3, even though I did like Season 3 much more than Season 2. I felt like it was a big improvement. Season 4 starts off, and as you know, at the end of Season 3, Elle has lost her powers. And she and Joyce and... was it Will that got trapped? There are so many kids in this show. Will, I think, was the one who got trapped in the Upside Down in Season 1. And Jonathan, they go off to California. Hopper is presumed dead. We know by the trailers he is not dead, of course. He's a prisoner in a Russian, like, gulag or whatever. And so at the beginning of Season 4, especially the first several episodes, I was starting to like Elle again. I felt sorry for her. She was going through certain things that were very difficult for her, bullying, not fitting in, and that was one of the things I appreciate about this show, how it touches on a lot of the things that kids go through in school. Not fitting in, bullying, feeling like an outcast, wanting to do your own thing, and you've got parents. Parents aren't very present in this show. I do have to say. Anyway, but that's one of the fun things about the show is it reminds me of those adventures that kids would go on sometimes, like in movies from the 80s or shows, the kids doing their thing and solving the mystery or going on the adventure or whatever. That was always fun. It always just engendered this really exciting sort of giddy feeling when I would watch that sort of thing. Ooh. Oh, okay. I just burned 250 calories. All right, whatever. So I liked Elle more so in the beginning of this season, though honestly, than I did at the end of the season. I'll touch on that a little bit later. But I just love the feel of this. It just harkened back to the warm fuzzies I got from Season 1. And I appreciate so much that the story was not rushed. It took its time. It let the plot breathe. The episodes were long. It felt like such a treat to be able to play an episode and know it was going to be about an hour and 15 minutes or so. And then, of course, the final 2 episodes, Volume 2, 1.5 hours and 2.5 hours. I kind of wish it had been, maybe they'd splice those up into smaller episodes, but still, whatever. It was like getting 4 more episodes. Anyway, so I really like that. Maybe some people felt like it dragged, but for me, it didn't. I felt like we had so much from all the different characters. They were all these different perspectives told from their angle, what was going on with them, the struggles that they had. We got new characters introduced. That guy right there, Eddie Munson, he quickly became my favorite character of this season. I really liked his character. He was, and the way he played it was so, he was funny. He was kind of you felt sorry for him, you know, in a sense. At first you start off thinking, okay, this is like some drug guy, you know, bully, sort of, you know, scary because he, you know, he sells drugs or whatever. But you quickly find out, I believe it's in episode 1 that you find out he's not what he seems. He's actually a decent guy. He's, you know, he's not mean, he's not bad. And then by the end, I'm pretty sure this particular thing that happens at the end, it happens at the end of episode 1. You know, you really appreciate that he's a decent person. Like he's definitely not at all what he seems. And then you quickly start to realize as the episodes progress that he's going to be kind of part of the gang now. And so that was cool. But there were so many different wheels in motion. You had the stuff going on with Hopper and Joyce and Murray, and then you had the stuff going on with the kids, and the kids would kind of fragment off. Some would go over here and some would go here and some here. And then there was also telling a story of another group of kids that they served as the antagonists in a lot of ways for the group, and those stories as they came together. And I just like how they all took their time to get to the point where paths crossed and things were happening, things building to a point, and, you know, reaching the climax and everything. And so I thought that was just handled really well. Also, there were some moments in this season that were surprisingly very touching. I mean, really just very heartfelt, very emotional. And, you know, it's been a while since I've seen season 1, but I don't remember season 1 affecting me. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't remember season 1 having as much of an emotional impact on me as season 4 did. So, you know, in some ways, season 4 really gives season 1 a run for its money. I think the reason I still stick with season 1 is because it was new, fresh. It was just, it had just, everything was so good about it. And this comes really close. And there were so many characters in here, and they were all followed in satisfying ways. Like I never really felt like any of the characters were shortchanged. And so I appreciated that so much. This season could have just continued going on and on, 1 hour and 15-minute episodes, and I would have been happy to watch every single one of them. I really enjoyed this season more than I had issues with it. I'll say that much. Oh yeah, I mentioned, you know, like, where are the parents? Like I had said before, you know, this is like the kids. It's their adventures, their stuff that's happening. There is some focus on the adults. Probably the adults that are focused on more would be Joyce, Hopper, and Murray, and the stuff that they're doing. So they did get quite a bit of attention. But the kids are the primary focus. And that's one of the things that makes this show quite enjoyable. I don't know. I mean, there's a reason why this is Netflix's, or one of their most popular original series. So something else I liked is how at the beginning of the season, you see how in some ways some of the kids are growing apart. Like Lucas has gone off and he's with a different group of kids. He's on the basketball team and he's wanting to fit in with the cool kids. And so there's those moments of tension between him and his friends from the previous seasons. And it's, you know, you see that the stuff going on with them, and they're kind of growing apart. And you see Mike and Will, they're kind of growing apart a little bit, or Will's feeling like a bit of a third wheel because he wants to go back to that innocent time, that childhood that he enjoyed so much. And it feels like he's still struggling a lot with the experiences that he went through in the Upside Down. It feels like he just doesn't fit in, and he's very sympathetic in this season. I mean, you feel really, really sorry for him. My heart just hurt for him so much in some of the different scenes, because you could just see his little face. His little face was so expressive. He just looked so sad. He just wore it so well. Something else that I liked was that there were some things that happened that I absolutely did not expect. I appreciated that. There were other things, of course, that I kind of felt like I would guess, and I did guess, but the thing that I appreciate about it is that it kept me guessing. And sometimes my guesses were wrong. I thought that was really good. I like that. I also like the dialogue, the characters, just you can just really tell that it just seems so realistic, the way they interact with each other, and it really feels like that the actors involved truly get along. I have no idea, there might be some drama behind the scenes, but it seems like they really like each other. They are working very well together. They've come fully into their own. Even some of the characters that weren't introduced until after season 1, like Max and mostly just Max. I think she was like the main character, the main addition to the group that came along after season 1. Yeah. So she's fully in it now. And she came in season 3. She's fully in it now, so just feels like everything fit. And her too, I think, was she in the first season? That little girl, she's funny. She was funny. I liked her character. Also, I just, one of the things that I appreciated so much about season 1 was that it just really made me feel like I was back in the 80s. The music, the decor, the clothing, the way things looked, the devices that were being used. It just brought me back to memories of my own childhood, my own teen years, and looking at the inside, like living rooms of the houses and coffee tables. That I remember seeing coffee tables like that in the homes of some of my family members and friends, and the couches and the carpet and the wallpaper. It was just... Anybody who lived in that time and loves this show, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So also we get another thing that was kind of funny is Steve, the perpetual babysitter. And he kind of remains in that role. Of course, all the kids are older now, but it was funny. Steve is just, he started off being kind of an assholey character, and then he's really started to grow on me, and I like his character quite a bit. In fact, I like his character more than I like the character of Nancy. Nancy is another character that has started to grate on me, and I don't know how much of it is just her character, the way she's written, or how much of it is the actress and the way she plays her. There's just something about her that's starting to just like annoy me. I really couldn't tell you. It might be a combination of both, to be honest. And it might be the same thing with her. Oh gosh, what's her name? Shoot, I forgot her name. Whatever. That also might be reason why Elle is starting to annoy me. But anyway, whatever. We'll get to that after a bit. Also appreciated how we got a realistic portrayal of David Harbour's character Hopper and the weight loss that he endured because of his time in the Russian prison. They referenced that it had been 8 months since Joyce had seen him. And so, yeah, I believe I read that he lost about 60 pounds. And so you can tell. And I appreciate that you can tell, because if he were living in those conditions, that's what he would look like. So yeah, that was good. I mentioned comedy. Yeah, the comedy was funny. Comedy mixed with seriousness and very touching moments. I love seeing there were hospital scenes and nurses wearing those nurse hats that they used to wear in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. When I was a kid, I used to take construction paper and I would cut it up. There was a design I had. I would cut it up, fold it, twist it, staple it, and I'd put it on my head and pretend I was a nurse. That brought back memories. Also, Robert Englund, I had heard that he was going to be in here, and I had forgotten until he showed up. I believe it was in episode 4, the episode titled Dear Billy. And something I really appreciated also, which I knew this was going to be a thing going into it, was that there were all these, it was like all these references to horror movies from the 80s. The main bad in here, Vecna, he's introduced. He's very reminiscent of, like, let's say a Freddy Krueger, and then of course Robert Englund shows up. There's a scene where a character is in like this, I don't know, it's like not really a dreamscape, and it's not exactly the Upside Down, but it's like some place, I don't even remember what they call it. It's like Vecna's place, or he can trap people in here, and it's like it's happening in their mind and they can't wake up, kind of like, the Freddy Krueger thing. But there's a character and in a graveyard, and you see a tombstone and it says Meyers. And then Michael Myers' mask does make an appearance again in this season, so that was kind of funny. I laughed when it happened. What else? Oh, yes. So there is a character that used to kind of grate on me. That character happened to be... Oops. Sorry. I gotta pause this. I'm getting a call from my brother. Hey, what's going on? Okay, where was I? I don't remember. I just got off a call with my brother and I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, I was getting ready to talk about a character that initially I wasn't really crazy about, and wasn't super crazy about the way the actor portrayed this character. And it was funny because in episode 4, it was called, the title of that episode was Dear Billy, and it's a focus on Max and her stepbrother Billy, and what happened to him and what she's dealing with. I mean, the season 4 starts off with Max is distant from her friends, and there's this scene where she's walking through the hallway at school and she's listening to a Kate Bush song on her Walkman. I had never heard this song before. I haven't heard very many Kate Bush songs. I think the one that I heard before this that I never forgot was from the movie She's Having a Baby. And that song always was very impactful. And then this song, I was like, wow, I really like that song. That's a really good song. And then 3 episodes later, in episode 4, the focus again, like I said, is on Max. This song plays a crucial role in a particular scene in this episode. And it's funny because Max, there's a shot focusing on Max, and she's reading this letter out loud, and it's an emotional scene. And my husband had just said, "Oh, she's a really good actor." Was that scene right there? She's really good. She's a really good actor, And I was like, she's okay. She seems like she's quite aware that the camera is on her, and sometimes it just I don't think she's that great. And I was like, I even said, she's like one of my least favorite characters in this show. And then moments after that, this scene happened, the scene that is my favorite in the entire series, and I don't think will ever be beaten. And it was all about Max. And now I cannot get that scene out of my head. And I cannot get that song out of my head. That Kate Bush song. Holy cow. And that one scene really gave me a deeper appreciation for the character of Max and the complexity involved with her. She started off really grating on me. I did not like her personality. I just did not. And I didn't care too much for how Sadie played the role, but I've definitely warmed to her. Kind of reminded me of how I started off really disliking Black Widow. And then by the time I started to like her, then she got killed. I was like, what? Anyway. So yes, and when that scene happened, I wrote Max, capital letters, exclamation points. And that scene, you will know it when you see it. Look up reaction videos to that particular moment in time, and it blew me away. It was so good, and I loved it. Loved it. Something else that I wanted to mention that I thought was kind of cool was there are some scenes with Elle, you know how when she floats in the stuff, like she floats in this tank of water and she's able to like do something, like she goes into some sort of, I don't know, mindscape or whatever. That gave me some serious Fringe vibes. Because I remembered, I had forgotten until I started watching this season, that the character in Fringe, the female character, I can't remember her name, she would go into this tank and it would like, she was able to like do something with her mind and go explore or whatever. So I thought that was cool. And I don't know if that particular thing with regard to Elle's character was inspired by Fringe or not. Maybe not. Something else that I thought was pretty well done was the focus on, or how they touched on something that was a thing back in the 80s, like this satanic cult fear craze. And it was a thing. I remember that from back in the day. And so that played a big part in this. I mean, that was a theme that went throughout the entire series from the first, oh gosh, scared the crap. Sorry. From the first episode to the last episode. Also touching on or demonstrating how people can be manipulated by mob fear, and reminded me of things like the Salem witch trials, you know, that type of situation, people being persecuted, the mob just sort of reacting and not thinking about what they're doing, and, you know, stuff like that just added quite a bit more depth to this season, and I really appreciated that. Those were, I think I've gone now through, I've already talked about Eddie, new character, my favorite. So now I'm going to touch on the cons, and there's not a lot. But one of the things that I noticed, and I can't remember, it was maybe episode 3 or 4, I can't recall. I started to notice that some things were a bit too convenient. I know that a character had to do a certain thing, but the way it was carried out was just a bit too pat for me. I wish it had been done differently, because in reality, what this character did to accomplish what they needed, and I'm trying to be vague because this review is non-spoilery, even though our live stream discussion is going to be spoilery. There's just no way that this other person that was around wouldn't have noticed what this character was doing. And that was just one example. There were other examples, and I was like, you know, that was just a little bit too, I don't know. I feel like that wasn't realistic enough. But anyway, there was that. There was another part where Elle did this, like, I can't remember if she jumped down or she came down from someplace, and when she landed, she did that lame superhero landing type pose, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. I rolled my eyes. I was like, no, I don't like that. That has been so overdone. It's almost cliche now. It's so cringe. And that felt really cringe. So this is the last thing I wrote down for my list of cons, and I'm coming back around now to the stuff that I mentioned about Elle. She is starting to get on my nerves again. It was more than halfway through this season. I can't tell you what episode. I don't remember if it was when Volume 2 started or if it was towards the end of Volume 1. She started to aggravate me again. And Millie Bobby Brown, that's the name of the actress. She's not really like, she's the actress herself is kind of like, you know, she's kind of, I don't know. And Elle, the way she's playing Elle, it's getting old. I'm getting tired of the handout and the screaming. I'm getting tired of seeing that. I'm getting tired of hearing that. I wish there was something else that could be done. Like, that's just getting so repetitive. The blood trailing down, you know, I mean, this is just like, okay, this is happening again. The constant screaming with the, that's wearing thin on me at this point. And also there's something that happens in the very last episode that makes me feel like her character is just getting ridiculously overpowered. This particular thing that happened, while I was glad for the outcome, I kind of was like, oh, come on. Really? She can do this too? And so that grated on me as well. And I feel torn about it, like I said, because I appreciated the outcome of that, but I feel like that's going over the top. And I'm like, what's she going to be able to do next? Fly? You know, I'm expecting this at some point. It's going to happen. And so those are the con things. It's not enough to diminish my enjoyment of this show, and I think that's primarily because while Elle is a driving force in the series, she's a focal point, because without her a lot of things wouldn't be able to happen, but she's just one part of this entire world, and there's all these other characters involved, and they're all doing these things together, and they're all working together, and they all play their own parts. And so the focus on these other characters kind of distracts me from any annoyance I have about the character of Elle. And that, I think, is the saving grace for me when it comes to issues that I have with the show. We've got enough characters to choose from to kind of really latch on to and get really involved in their story and what's going on with them. So it's not only a focus on her. There is a big focus on her, but there's also a big focus on a lot of the other characters. I mean, I don't feel like we spent most of our time with Elle. I felt like the time was almost evenly distributed between all of the major characters, like the kids, and of course Elle, which she's part of the kids, but also the adults like Joyce, Hopper, Murray, you know, like that. And so I feel like that was a great way to approach this whole story, and that really helps me get over con territory type feelings that I have with regard to the show as a whole and the character of Elle. So those are my thoughts on Stranger Things season 4. I know I kind of went on a while because I had a lot of stuff to say. I wrote down quite a bit of stuff, and I was fundamentally very pleased with this season. And I had initially thought that season 4 was going to be it, but when season 4 started, or when it almost started, I found out around there that season 5 is actually going to be the final. I hope they can bring this to a satisfying conclusion. I hope we don't run into a Game of Thrones type scenario. I'm still very salty about that, you guys. I mean, that just, I just get so angry thinking about it. I hope that the writers give us a solid conclusion. I'm glad the show's not going to go on and on and on and wear out its welcome like so many shows do. Supernatural being one. There was another one, Walking Dead being another. And so that makes it something that you could probably go back to again and again. If it feels like it's got this very well-rounded, satisfying arc and conclusion, everything coming together, then it makes it easier to return to it if you want to. Like, you want to rewatch it, relive that excitement and the adventure and everything. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to season 5. Fingers crossed. I'm not heading into it with a sense of discouragement or anything. I probably, if season 4 had felt like season 2 did, I would probably be like, ugh. But it didn't. And I felt like we had a really good protagonist in the character of Vecna, and liked the backstory that was established for that character, and just also feel like everyone here was given a lot of story time. I liked that. The new character, the guy with the long hair, I cannot remember his name. He's like a kind of stoner guy. He was kind of funny, you know. So I liked the new characters that were brought into the series, especially the character of Eddie. Really, really liked him. And look forward to seeing where it's going to go. And hopefully we won't be disappointed. And I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else to say. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up so I can edit this and get it up. Okay, guys, later.